Have you been paying to stay sick? Hi there and welcome to the Strong Crap Podcast. I'm Jed, and I'm here to give you the tools that you need to build your own strong life. All right, back to that question. Have you been paying to stay sick? Sounds crazy, right? But what if I told you that much of what we call healthcare is actually just sick care? And even worse, you're the one footing the bill to stay stuck in it. Now, before we dive deeper, let me ask you this. Why are you here? Is it because you know that something's off with the healthcare system? Maybe you're tired of watching the people you love suffer? Or is it that you've made a decision to take your health into your own hands? See, if it's any of those reasons, you're in the right place. But let me warn you, nothing in life is free, especially healthcare. So the real question is, are you willing to pay the price to get well? Only you can answer that question. But for now, let's dive into the first major problem that's keeping you sick and how to finally break free from it. All right, what are the biggest problems that I've discovered about our healthcare system? Well, let's start with the first one, and it's a big one. Nothing in life is free, especially healthcare. See, in Canada, we like to say we have free healthcare. In fact, it's one of our nation's talking points. But in reality, it isn't free. If you're a business owner or an employee or an investor, you're paying for it in taxes. And I know it looks different in the US, but it's really not all that different. There, you're paying large insurance companies instead, and they're the ones who ultimately decide what gets covered, what gets denied, and what kind of care you can access. Now here's the real problem underneath all of this. We as a society have given into a poverty mentality. We've come to expect handouts instead of hand-ups. And because we've been trained to expect that things should be free, we've slowly but surely given away many of our fundamental freedoms. To whom, you might ask? The answer is simple: our government. See, instead of making principle-based decisions or being good stewards of our tax money, our leaders have chosen to spend it trying to fix short-term problems, the kind that sound good on paper, but they don't hold up well in the real world. And why would they do this? Simple. Because they understand human behavior. They know that doing what's right often comes with consequences, and that could cost them votes. And in politics, that's a risk that most people just aren't willing to take. See, doing the right thing usually means facing resistance. It means being misunderstood. It means exposing deeper problems that most people would rather ignore. And the truth is, there are far more problem makers, problem avoiders, and problem amplifiers in this world than there are actual problem solvers. So if you're in the majority, you probably fall into one of these categories. You create problems faster than you can fix them, you avoid problems altogether, or you convince yourself they're so big and so complex that in your mind, they'll never be solved. Now you might be thinking, that's not me, Jed. I do want to see real change. Okay, fair enough. But let me ask you this. What if the changes you want take longer than you would have expected? What if the process is harder than you would have thought? What if you get distracted, discouraged, or misunderstood? Would you still keep going? Would you still fight? If the answer is, Jed, it wouldn't change a thing, of course I'd keep fighting. Great, then you're part of the 10%. But what about that other 90%? See, this is where short-term promises, they work like a charm. And the people in power know this. So instead of leading with integrity and courage, they just keep giving people what they want instead of what they really need. Because if your goal is to just make it to the next 4-year election cycle, then promising a bunch of free things becomes a pretty effective strategy. It buys time, it buys silence, and more often than not, it buys votes. Now, someone who's thinking long-term would ask, how are we actually going to pay for all these free things? But a short-term thinker, well, they'll default to the easy answer. We'll just increase taxes. Okay, but then what? Where are all those tax dollars going to come from? Well, see, the only guaranteed way of raising that kind of money is to tax the essentials. So what's the main thing that people can't live without? In Canada, the second largest country by landmass, and the US, the fourth largest country by landmass in the world, fossil fuels. See, farmers need fuel to plant and harvest crops. Industries rely on fuel to transport food and goods across North America and beyond. And for at least 6 months of the year, many Canadians and Americans rely on fuel just to heat their homes. Now you might be thinking, Jed, there's no way people will agree to that kind of tax. Sure they will. It just needs the right wrapping paper. We'll call it the carbon tax. Say it's about protecting the environment. Sounds noble, but the effects are devastating. Because, like I said earlier, nothing in life is free, and life always has a way of catching up. No system can ever stand the test of time when it's been built upon the sand. When the storms come, and they will come, that system will come crashing down. Let's take the 2020 debacle, for example. When the pressure hit, the government did not have a strong system to lean on. So what did they do? Well, they spent millions of taxpayer dollars building brand new departments just to prevent the healthcare system from collapsing. See, they hired people to spy on fellow citizens. They enforced isolation rules, and to make matters worse, if you couldn't do your job from home, they paid you to stay home. This meant many industries were shut down, and our economy ground to a halt. Now we're all paying for it. How, you might ask? Increased cost of living, increased inflation, and wouldn't you know it, increased taxes. Wait a second, didn't they already increase taxes? Why and how could they increase taxes again? Well, they had to make up for the deficit they created. And they couldn't afford to cut government spending because doing so would mean pulling back all the free stuff they promised. See the pickle they found themselves in? So what would you do if you were in charge and you didn't want to admit that you'd messed things up? Well, if I were a foolish man, more concerned with protecting my own image than doing what's right, I wouldn't take responsibility. In fact, I'd shift the blame. And who would I blame? Ambitious, highly skilled, and highly productive people. The very people we depend on to keep things running. The producers. I'd start by increasing corporate taxes and then hiking up capital gains taxes. Because hey, they've got a lot. Why shouldn't we just take more from them? I mean, that would be the fair thing to do, right? The problem, especially when it comes to healthcare, is that most doctors in our country own corporations. And for many of them, selling that corporation to a younger physician is a key part of their retirement plan. But when you raise taxes, layer on more red tape, and punish productivity, what do you think happens? Well, we start to lose those people. See, some of our most skilled professionals and our most profitable businesses have already packed up and left. They've moved to other countries, places where they can actually do what they love without feeling like they're going to be crushed by a bureaucratic nightmare. And it's not just the entrepreneurs. Healthcare professionals are doing the same thing. They're asking themselves, do I stay here and get buried in taxes and paperwork? Or do I leave and practice medicine somewhere that still values my time, my training, and my freedom? Many have already answered that question. Like I said before, they've left. Now, this is a huge issue because it means fewer doctors and nurses in an industry that's already stretched very thin. Now, had the government made different choices years ago, if they had invested in long-term strategies like expanding our healthcare infrastructure or funding real studies into regenerative medicine, then both our healthcare system and our population would have been strong enough to handle any virus that put us to the test. We could have kept working, paid less taxes, and our economies would have thrived. But instead, they keep prescribing Band-Aid solutions to a system that desperately requires reconstructive surgery. So the next time you're waiting for weeks for blood work, or you can't even get in to see your doctor, ask yourself, who's managing? Or should I say, mismanaging my tax dollars? And then ask them, what are you doing with the money I trusted you to oversee? Because here's the thing, mismanaged money is just one part of the problem. The next issue runs even deeper. What if the people we trust to care for us were never trained to question the system, only to follow it? Now, don't get me wrong, there are some incredible doctors out there, men and women who sacrifice daily, who fight for their patients, and who think beyond the textbook. But even the best doctors are being trained inside a system that discourages innovation and punishes risk. In the next episode, we're going to pull back the curtain on what's really happening behind the scenes of medical education and the medical system, and why so many doctors feel forced to play it safe, even when their patients need something more. If you found this video helpful and you want to see more like it, feel free to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We can't win this fight without people like you. While you're here, feel free to check out the other videos on my page. Now, if you're looking into how regenerative medicine could help you or someone you love, then head over to my website and book a consult with me directly. If you're ready to explore real solutions, this could be a great place to start.